organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up on Daily Iowan TV,
celebrating 5 years of one historic ruling right here in Iowa City.
And the smoke is settling, but the memories remain for one Iowa City business as it prepares to close its doors for good.
And in sports, the latest on the offseason of Hawkeye quarterback Jake Rudock.
We have it all at the top of the hour. Daily Iowan TV starts now. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Erin Faust.
And I'm Reed Chandler. We begin tonight with breaking news. The UI released a trigger warning to students over email Thursday evening at 5:20 p.m. regarding reports of 2 unrelated sexual assaults.
The first report claims the assault occurred on March 28th after the victim and an acquaintance returned to a campus residence hall after an off-campus party. The email refers to the reporting victim as a he, making this the first reported sexual assault on a male this year.
And the second report claims the victim received a non-consensual contact in sexual nature by an acquaintance on January 15th of this year.
Officials have told the Daily Iowan one victim plans to press charges. Full details will be available in Friday's edition of the Daily Iowan.
And 5 years ago today, the state of Iowa became the third of 17 states to allow same-sex marriage. We send it over now to our own Nick Fisher with more on this historic event.
Today marks the 5-year anniversary of the Varnum versus Bryan trial. The case was handled by the Iowa Supreme Court, and the trial ultimately ended with a unanimous decision allowing same-sex marriage to take place in the state. The impact of the decision is evident here on the UI campus.
People don't have to be afraid of who they fall in love with, and that creates a happier campus because you're not afraid.
In 2009, this area behind me saw both protesters and supporters, but now 5 years later, marriage equality is being celebrated throughout the state.
And the fact that Iowa has had marriage equality for the past 5 years, I think really gets students excited, especially here in the middle of the country, in the heartland. Who wouldn't want to come to Iowa when we have that much to offer to the LGBT community?
Tucked behind Slater Residence Hall is the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Resource Center, a space that opened up in 2006 to give LGBT students a place to interact amongst one another.
Without this space, I don't know where a lot of my friends would end up going. So it's super important that we've got it.
The LGBT community will be celebrating their historic milestone today, but the center is open to all students. For hours and to reserve space inside the center, head to csil.uiowa.edu/multicultural/LGBTRC. Nick Fisher, Daily Iowan TV.
One Iowa is hosting a celebration this Saturday in Des Moines to commemorate the historic date in marriage equality.
More than 100 UI students poured into the state capitol Wednesday for the 4th annual Hawkeye Caucus. Students maintained their enthusiasm even after their bus broke down on the way there. They spoke with lawmakers about educational issues students are facing while also thanking them for their funding towards the new pharmacy building. The event also included a college fair with representatives from 27 different college departments.
A meeting at the bar with Senate candidate Mark Jacobs Wednesday night. The Republican candidate met with UI students at the Airliner Bar to discuss job growth, a hot topic for the younger crowd. His meeting, however, was conflicted with the GOP candidates' debate in Ames, Iowa, spurring discussion on his commitment to his candidacy amongst his fellow competition.
Talk about an inappropriate sight for school kids earlier this week. 46-year-old Anthony Hudson was caught masturbating in a doorway facing Benton Street on Monday while elementary kids walked by. Officers set up surveillance on the street block and took him into custody on Wednesday as he returned to the scene and started to unzip his pants again. Authorities say they're investigating Hudson and have a search warrant on his house.
Last week, the UI turned down a request from the HBO hit series Girls to film on campus. But the show's director, Jesse Peretz, is not backing down, announcing to Vulture magazine that the show will still film in parts of Iowa City. They will, of course, shoot outside of campus, but will have to film campus scenes elsewhere.
Still on the way, a robotics showdown at Carver Hawkeye Arena. The details are next.
And spring snow is a thing, and it certainly has taken over much of northern Iowa, but Aaron, I seriously hope it skips Iowa City.
I know it's April. I'm really sick of wearing a jacket.
It's not fair. It needs to be warm out. So with that, let's hand it over to our own Nick Fisher in the weather studio for this week's weather forecast. Nick?
Well, Reed, here in Iowa City, we won't have to worry about that pesky spring snow. But after gloomy skies today, we can expect the sun to show itself once again tomorrow. The morning will feature partly cloudy skies with a chilly high of 35. As we move into the afternoon hours, temperatures should creep up to a high of 39 with partly cloudy skies and go up even more to 41 in the evening. As we head into the weekend, the clouds will clear on Saturday with a high temperature of 55. Sunday, the clouds return, but the temperature will continue to climb into the low 60s. Monday and Tuesday seem to be very similar, with highs in the upper 50s, partly cloudy skies, and a 20% chance of precipitation both days. Wednesday, look for the clouds to dissipate and the temperatures to rise back up to the low 60s. That's all I have for tonight. Enjoy the beautiful weekend. Reed and Aaron, back to you.
Carver Hawkeye Arena is opening its doors this weekend to the inaugural First Tech Challenge Super Regional Championship. Teams of junior high and high school students work together and in tandem with adult leaders to plan, build, and program robots that can perform specific functions like dropping a plastic cube into a pendulum goal.
But it really prepares them to speak in front of people, to work together as a team, and really to flourish and become a successful young person, an adult.
The competition begins Friday with opening ceremonies and will end Saturday with the top teams moving on to the World Championship in St. Louis at the end of April.
It looks like plastic bags are here to stay for Johnson County. The environmental group 100 Grannies for a Livable Future has pushed for banning plastic bags due to the non-degradable fossil fuels used to make them. But leaders in Johnson County said instead of a ban, they're going to focus on voluntary ways to decrease their use. Members of 100 Grannies expressed disappointment about the decision, but said they won't stop in their efforts.
And now it's time for this week's edition of Spotlight Iowa City, where we're shining a light on a popular Iowa City business that's closing their doors. We'll hand it over now to our own Megan Horhan for the rest. Megan?
The Tobacco Bowl is closing its doors after providing a social smoking cafe atmosphere for almost 25 years. The space is certainly one of a kind, and our own Stefan Duran sat down with some of the people who have come to know the bowl best.
My name's Hiram Richard Weber III. I've been coming in here ever since it was the Baskin and Robbins ice cream store. When it became the Tobacco Bowl, slowly it became more and more of a pseudo-bohemian atmosphere. A free-form sort of environment, you know, rather than some ivory tower sort of atmosphere. It's almost like being on a subway at rush hour, where everybody's hiding behind their favorite medium. And rather than interacting. And here, the interactions happen.
My name is Luther Moss. I've been coming to the Tobacco Bowl since 1996. I've been the manager for the last 5 years. I've worked here for about 7 years. I'm upset that I won't get to see a lot of these people every day like I have for years now. It's like moving. It's like losing some sort of family. It's like, you know, change, and it's always hard. Like I've said, I've been in here for so long, and getting to work here and getting to run the place has been absolutely amazing.
It's like a little home for me. It's like a home away from home. You just come to Iowa City, you see this place, it's like, oh God, I can sit down, have a cup of coffee, and smoke a cigarette. It can be dirty at times, but it's also has so much character that sets it apart from any other place. When the Bowl's gone, I wonder what they're going to do. But I guess I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do too. Should be more worried about that.
Although the Tobacco Bowl is closing in 2 weeks, owners say they will be reopening it as a pizza arcade parlor at the end of the summer. Back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thanks, Megan. Spring football back on the program in the sports studio tonight, Aaron.
That's right, Reed. For everything black and gold, let's toss it over to our own Kevin Glick in the Daily Iowan TV sports studio.
Thanks, Aaron. Track and field later in the program, but pigskin the centerpiece of the show as we get further into spring ball. This time last year, Kirk Ferentz and company spent his spring prepping Jake Rudock to take over the Hawkeyes' starting quarterback job. The sophomore rewarded his head coach, throwing for over 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns en route to a New Year's Day Outback Bowl berth. But Rudock's inability to stay on the field has challenger C.J. Beathard right back in the conversation as the Hawks prepare to wrap up Week 2 of spring ball. Daily Iowan TV Sports' Josh Bolander has the latest from spring practice.
This is where Jake Rudock's season ended. Beaten, bruised, and eventually knocked out of Iowa's New Year's Day Bowl loss to LSU in a rainy Tampa, Florida. This is Jake Rudock now. Loose, confident, and perhaps most importantly, healthy.
Feel really good. Both knees feel really good now. It was nice last Wednesday to kind of escape the pocket and run a little bit. Feels much better than it did at the end of the year, so that's always a positive. The strength staff and the medical staff did a real good job of getting me healthy.
Despite a sophomore campaign that saw Iowa's first-year signal caller lead an improvement in total offense, points, and touchdowns scored from a year earlier, questions about Rudock's durability allowed backup quarterback C.J. Beathard to establish himself as a more than capable second option for head coach Kirk Ferentz.
I'm not going to say it's just like last year because it's not quite just like last year, but it is in that, they'll both compete. CJ did a lot of good things last year, and I would expect him to be a better player this spring than he was a year ago. And so we'll let those guys compete, and it should be great competition.
Coach Ferentz always talks about you have to re-earn your spot every single year. I mean, you can't just walk on the field expecting to, be where you were. You have to keep moving forward, keep getting a little bit better each and every day. And the most important thing right now is to get the entire team ready and get the team better, and that's what we're all trying to do.
With an inexperienced defense expected to learn on the go come 2014, this year it will be on Rudock and the offense to produce in late-game situations. But for now, Iowa's man under center is at least saying all the right things.
We don't only want to win 8 games. Every team in the country is going out trying to win every single game that they play. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different move, but at the same time, you can't just have a little success and expect that to continue.
Josh Bolander, Daily Iowan TV Sports.
While the competition between Rudock and Beathard may be all the talk in the gridiron, a different duo is making waves on the track. Daily Iowan TV Sports' Rachel Bedell explains who and why.
Freshman hurdler Aaron Mallett didn't have to go far to get advice from All-American Ethan Holmes due to Ethan's 5th year.
I remember watching him on TV when I was, a junior in high school, and to actually be running with him and, hurting in practice with him and traveling with him and stuff like that it's a really, really good experience. It's really positive and stuff like that. He always has, good advice and good things to say to me.
There's not much I can tell him to get better, but just experience that I've had and, places I've been, just stuff that could help him become a more well-rounded athlete.
And that was one of my goals, to bring Ethan back for his 5th year for his indoor season, because I wanted to have somebody there to really guide these young guys, and they've really gotten along well as far as being really good training partners.
Go ahead. Although Ethan's 5th year had to be done, that doesn't mean he is.
Now that I get to focus on one event instead of 4 or 5, I think there's a lot of possibilities, and I want to go places with this, and I want to make it, onto the next level.
Got it in him to be a guy that's making it to the finals at the U.S. Championships and possibly, making the World Championship or Olympic team down the road.
Now that Ethan's done, it's time for Aaron to raise the level.
Take the torch, the old guys leave out and the new guys come in. So I'm just trying to, keep that legacy going of, Iowa's good hurlers.
And there's no doubt that he's up for the challenge.
He's on another level than me, I think, in a lot of ways. I see a lot of qualities in him that, I wish every kid had. Technical on the track, he's about as technical as it gets. As he gets older, he's going to be a big deal, I think.
I know he's got big goals. He wants to be a national champion and leave here as the best hurdler in the history of Iowa. So he definitely has the tools to do that.
Soon, there may be a new name on the record boards. Rach Bedell, Daily Iowan TV Sports.
More spring football and highlights from this weekend series on the Diamond with Indiana coming on Sunday. But for now, it's back to you at the desk.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight, but be sure to read Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan.
Read about new apartments coming to a neighborhood near you.
And why the university's PhD programs are losing recruiting scholarships.
Thanks for tuning in this evening. We'll be back at the same time on Sunday, or you can catch us anytime online at dailyiowan.com.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.